Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our live weekly question and answer, where we have you join us, and we sit here with Dr. Rita Ellithorpe. She is our founder and medical director here at Tustin Longevity Center. Thanks for getting that door. We're looking for your questions. We want this to be an interactive event. If you look off to the side of your screen here, there should be a chat section there. You do need to be logged into YouTube to be able to post in that chat area. But if you are logged in, place your questions there. We're monitoring those, and I'll ask those questions to the doctor. If you are not able to log into YouTube, you can also email your questions in. We can answer those on the following week. And our office email here is office@tlcdoctors.com. That's TLCDoctors.com. Doctor, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Sure, absolutely. And just a quick disclaimer, the information that we're sharing here, the questions that we're answering, this is meant to be general information, generally good health information. This is not supposed to be take the place of specific medical advice. We do accept new patients here. We're accepting new patients both in the office as well as telehealth. So if you have insurance and you don't want to come into the office, or perhaps you're somewhere further away, we can visit you via FaceTime or Skype or something like that, or Zoom, and answer your questions specifically. So without wasting any further time, Doc, do you want to jump in? We're getting a few questions, and I know you brought some material that you want to share with our audience today.
Let's answer questions. That's why we're here.
Okay. First questions, it looks like, is a better way to ask is probably, what does the data say about the probability of asymptomatic spread? What does the data say about the probability of asymptomatic spread? I'm assuming that's related to COVID-19.
Right. You can see, I've done a little bit of studying for this week, and I'm always in the research. I don't have that data right in front of me, but I have it fresh in my mind. And asymptomatic shedding or cause of disease is basically an unknown and likely not to be a credible factor, okay? So there is a window in which the virus is generated in the human body and then shed. And that window, they're ascertaining in the asymptomatic now, is more elusive than those that were seriously ill and we could track in the hospital.
It's harder to track because if you're asymptomatic, you might not even know you have it.
Exactly. But there is good data of virologists. Again, right when this started, I said there's a good source to go to, and I alerted you back in January to the Johns Hopkins
That's right.
Corona map. I also alerted you to MEDCRAM, MEDCRAM, and number 98 on MEDCRAM is actually about, maybe it's 97. Anyway, he has almost 100 videos on this. And it talks about the viral shedding and what's the best time to capture this in the population. And they talk about testing. So of course the RT-PCR is probably the highest credible test, where they make copies of it. And there's problems with that as well. But then you have the more serum antibody serology base, and then there are other types that are a 5-minute little tape where you put some spit on it and you look and see if agglutination occurs, another type of serology. It's not as sensitive, but if you're talking mass screening, this may be what we could test every day, because it would only cost $1. So the cost of a test like that, although its sensitivity is lower, its access will make up for what it doesn't do in sensitivity. So you might go to school, test yourself, and then be negative, and then the next day test yourself and say you're positive, and you go, oh, I'm going to stay home for a week. Okay, so there are all kinds of wonderful serological PCR testing out there, but the hint is that the probability of asymptomatic seeding is minimal. That's what I'm getting back. They cannot expand this or inflate this into high numbers.
Okay, thanks for answering that. Okay, next question on the docket is, Can you talk about portion size for meals during intermittent fasting?
Well, if you're intermittent fasting, the size of your stomach is shrinking. And so if you're going to eat once a day, one meal a day, all mad eating, or you're going to eat 2 meals a day, wouldn't make sense to try and jam a lot in there.
Right. Probably wouldn't feel too good either if you had a big, heavy meal.
So as opposed to quantity, I would talk about the quality.
Yes.
And I would say I would aim for your protein, your roasted chicken, eat the skin on it to get the fat. There's 9 calories in every gram of fat compared to 4 in protein and carbs. Get your protein, get your fat in, get low carb vegetables, and try and explain to yourself that you have been propagandized by the marketing companies throughout America that all you should do to have fun is eat. You know, you associate fun with eating, and you have been tricked. And this is harmful, and this is hurting your future health. So we would say quality-wise, lower carbs, quality-wise, richer in protein and fats, especially the fats, and be a modest eater and practice some long-term fasting. Maybe practice 24-hour fasting once a week, you know, and maybe twice a year do a 2 or 3 day fast. Just show yourself you're not in charge of the marketing dragging you around, you know, on eating. You know, they're pulling you around with smells and everything. You can't do it, otherwise you can't be well.
Right. Not to mention the numerous health benefits to fasting, especially prolonged fasting, that we're learning how it promotes autophagy and it decreases insulin sensitivity or decreases.
It decreases insulin resistance.
Yes.
It increases insulin sensitivity.
Right.
So a cleaner body is a healthier body, and eating is not the solution to illness. In fact, if you get ill, you should fast.
Yes.
Animals do that, so let's use some common sense.
That's one of the first things that you recommend to your patients if they feel like they're coming down with something. Okay, let's stop eating for a period of 12, 24, 48 hours, and then you gradually have them take maybe a broth or a chicken soup, something like that.
Right.
Because you give your digestive system a rest, a break. And we know most of our immune system lines the digestive system, so you allow your immune system to go fight whatever you're coming down with instead of worrying about figuring out friend or foe what's in your digestive system.
Right.
Okay. Next question from Chris. How do you feel about the Wiley protocol for hormones? I believe we answered this one, was it last week or the week before?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
And in a nutshell, Chris, you can go back and look at the video from last week or the week before that. Wiley protocol is fine. Dr. Ellithorpe worked with Wiley actually as she was developing this. It is a very complex program, and we do support our patients through Wiley here. We have several patients, many patients on Wiley protocol, but we find that it's a little bit too complex, and patients have a hard time staying compliant with it since your dosing or timing is changing almost every single day. We just find a much simpler method with our patients here works best.
Right.
Okay.
And over the years, have I found a vast difference in the woman who has the higher ranges of the hormones? The answer is no. So I think you can get along and get the benefits of the hormone replacement with more modest dosing, more simplistic dosing.
Okay. Next question is from Perla. What are some natural foods or herbs that can help cure cancer, particularly brain cancer?
Well, that's a 3-hour lecture right there. What are some natural things? Fasting. And it's actually not eating, okay? So I have several glioblastoma multiforme patients, and the vast majority of them live a long time. And basically, I put them on a severe keto type diet, and this keto diet is immune friendly to glial cells of the brain. So a ketogenic diet is the key to the dietary pattern for brain tumors, whether it's astrocytoma, glioblastoma multiforme, or others. So what about herbs? I think turmeric has a good standing as far as an anti-inflammatory. Water, none of us drink enough water. Water is a wonderful thing to drink half your weight in ounces every day. Get a good night's sleep. Don't be turning on the blue screen of your computer every day, to the nth degree. And then exercise. And then get out all the processed foods, the dyes, the colors, these ingredients like this. And you'll find my glioblastoma multiforme patients are eating real food. There isn't some super duper herb. I do have them on enzymes like Vitalzyme or Vascuzyme or Proteozyme. I do have them all on Juice Plus as a powerful antioxidant. I do have them all on a high-dose vitamin C immune drip. And I have all of them on chelation therapy intravenously because the scans that you have to get to size and image the lesions use heavy metal gadolinium dyes that they themselves are neuroexcitatory and toxic. So we can help our cancer patients deal with all these scans by pulling out the dyes that are used in it so that they can be followed by their oncologist. Hopefully that helps you.
Absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned two things that really stuck out to me there was the ketogenic diet, and we've come to understand that cancer cells they're so more receptive to sugar and insulin. I've heard said that they have 18 times the insulin receptors of a healthy cell. So they're just starving for sugar. And by eliminating that or decreasing that significantly, we're not feeding the cancer and helping it grow. In fact, I think when they do imaging studies, part of that protocol is some kind of sugar that's put in there because it excites.
That's the PET scan.
The PET scan, okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this has been well elucidated. If you go to Thomas Friedman, he wrote a book on cancer as a metabolic disease. And in it, he points out the aerobic nature of glycolysis means you have to have oxygen and burn sugar. And if the oxygen level is diminishing acidic, then it favors cancer conversion and the use of the metabolism to convert sugar via fermentation, like it's an alcohol, like fermenting alcohol in your body. So the logic of denying yourself carbs and being very low carb and getting good oxygenation, which chelation therapy improves microcirculation, goes along with Thomas Friedman's cancer as a metabolic disease. And we have the enzyme catalase in abundance that helps to deal with the oxidative stress of, let's say, a high-dose vitamin C infusion, but your cancer cells do not have this enzyme, and so they get oxidatively stressed with a high-dose vitamin C drip. And then the chelation, of course, helps remove the heavy metals even from the dye, but it also improves microcirculation to increase oxygenation. So I think all those things have really helped all our cancer patients, not just the brain tumor.
Right. Okay. Thanks for that question. The next question we have is, what are your thoughts on arsenic in our foods? Example, rice and chicken.
Well, I don't think it should be in there. But more than that, I'm against the lead that's in it and the cadmium that is in it and the aluminum that's in our drinking canisters and so forth. So we have to, as a people, demand of our representatives and our medical doctors to become better informed about the toxicity of heavy metals, whether it's lead, whether it's aluminum, whether it's cadmium, whether it's mercury, all these things. And it's in the atmosphere, you're breathing it every day. It lands on the ground. Your vegetables, even an organic garden, will grow it up and bring it into its root system and so forth. Now, the good thing is we do have chelation to help get rid of this.
Right.
And so you need doctors better informed in the 21st century. Your doctors should be well informed about means of detoxifying their patient base. And this is not taught. This is not taught in medical school, let alone nutrition. So we have to get ourselves disentangled from the pharmaceutical dogma that creates so much of the trend of medical education, and not to get rid of pharmaceuticals. There are values to them when appropriate, but it shouldn't be the sole base of our management, and we should be much more adept in our training as physicians about our toxic environment. So yeah, arsenic is very bad, and we need to get that under control. Of course, buy organic, buy cold processed chicken.
And even there, that's not going to be perfect, because
Right.
a lot of these heavy metals are in the soil, in the earth. They're being dropped from the sky onto the ground, and no organic farm can prevent that.
Correct.
100%.
Correct.
But at least they're not going to be using the chemicals that are probably laced with things as well too, getting into the soil.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope that answered your question there, Lucero. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that was Kay. Next question comes from Lucero. What is your opinion on Budwig diets to help treat cancer?
Yes, Miss Budwig was a physician in Europe, and she used cottage cheese and flaxseed oil, and these were basically more of a ketogenic type diet. So there you go with your very low carb diet. And cottage.
I remember sort of as a kid when you were working at Brzezinski's in Texas, this was kind of a more popular thing. I remember seeing the cottage cheese and the flaxseed oil.
Yeah, well, all your cell membranes are made up of a bilipid layer, okay? And these essential fats are linoleic and alpha-linolenic,
Right.
not the EPA, DHEA foolishness that your doctor has been deceived into believing is good for you. Now, flaxseed does have some linoleic and alpha-linolenic acid, so if you're going to repair and build up the strength of your cell membrane, you've got to have that in there. So it makes sense, plus it's satiating as a fat to help you endure the low calories you're going to be going through. And the dairy is rich in sulfhydryl. Cottage cheese has a tremendous amount of sulfhydryl, sulfa, and hydrogen components. And if
Okay.
you look in a cell membrane and you look at the protein that kind of is the receptor floating in that cell membrane, sulfhydryl is attracted to the double bond energy of the fatty acids near it, and it kind of snuggles to it and holds it in place as a receptor. So it helps reconstruct the cell, okay, so it makes sense. Now, there's probiotics usually in it as well. So this is a general decent thing, so I'm not anti Budwig's philosophy. I just don't emphasize it because we're doing it and doing it far better. Now, bringing up sulfhydryl, I just want to take a moment on sulfhydryl groups are in glutathione. And L-glutathione is one of the most critical, you might say, one of the most paramount antioxidants in the human biological system. Now, I study this all the time, so I'm not going to say it's the most important because I think lipoic acid, CoQ10, and other things are as well.
Right.
But in general, Americans, with their lousy, processed, late-night eating, cheap fried, packaged foods, are not eating living enzymes, and they are deficient. And what we found in this study, it said endogenous deficiency of glutathione as the most likely cause of serious manifestations and death in COVID-19 patients.
Can you break that down? Endogenous deficiency, what does that mean?
It means your body should have this, okay? And if you don't
Versus
have it,
exogenous, something that we're taking,
that.
supplementing.
If you take that, you're taking it exogenously.
Right.
And you should be able to regenerate these things with vitamin E and vitamin C. That's why we as doctors here do give you vitamin C infusions. We give you a multivitamin. Our Juice Plus is rich in the vitamin E and so forth. But what I want to point out here is oxidative stress, burning, so to say, damages cell membranes and contributes to that cytotoxic storm.
Right.
And the COVID-19, where its receptors are, generates a pathway that abundantly generates cytokine-free radicals, okay? Glutathione is one of the naturally occurring antioxidant in a human being that can help quench that.
Right, calm it down.
Calm it down. And so it said specifically impaired redox homeostasis and associated oxidative stress appear to be important biological processes that may account for increased individual susceptibility to diverse environmental insults. And it's much more complex than that, but that's complex enough. We found that it tends to have a benefit in anticoagulation. It helps prevent the little microclots of the von Willebrand factors in the endothelial lining. We also found that it acts as an antioxidant, and it works as an antiviral of itself. So glutathione has an antiviral benefit. So what we have here, and I have in our process, is this oral form. I take 2 a day. But the precursor to glutathione is N-acetylcysteine. So it takes 2 N-acetylcysteines to make 1 glutathione. Okay, I've got this in our multivitamin TLC Energy Core and Mitocore. I've got this in there. So all my patients have been protected all along. Okay?
And we offer glutathione IVs as well too.
Yes. Yeah. So there's much to do about the antioxidants that we give you, and that's probably why all our patients are just doing so fantastic. And while I'm at it, there is an excellent paper on vitamin D, the immunologic effects of vitamin D on human health and disease. Now this is a lengthy paper. It talks about vitamin D as a significant biological support for both your innate and your adaptive immune system. So vitamin D works on both the pre-ready soldiers and then the development of the specialized antibody soldiers and the T cell system. Vitamin D, of course, is involved in your bones and your calcium and phosphorus metabolism. And here they are, they're going and saying everyone needs to get their blood value to at least 60, and what we've always said 80 here, all right? So once again, we've always been taking good care of our patients. Also, it talks about vitamin D helps the endothelial lining of the blood vessels, and that's another reason why we find those who had adequate vitamin D levels did not seem to die. And now, another thing, I don't want to go through all of this, but be known that we doctors here are teaching ourselves and watching the multifaceted effects of these things to help our patients stay well. Well, on top of that, I got triggered into this because I was looking up all-cause mortality, and this article, which was written the 4th of July 2020 in what is the name of this? The Journal of Clinical Endocrinological and Metabolism, said vitamin D status and risk of all-cause and cause-specific mortality in a larger cohort. And they were looking at something like 365,000 people in the United Kingdom, and they followed these people during a median of about 9 years, and they had a significantly reduced all-cause mortality for heart disease and cancer, but they had to be around that 60 point on the nanograms per milliliter.
Right, of vitamin D.
So if anything comes out of this COVID, maybe the medical community and patients will start recognizing we doctors who have been looking at prevention, and we've proven it here over these 5 months, our patients have done fabulously. Maybe now people will want their doctors better educated on prevention. So hopefully all of this will have a wonderful blessing, and we'll see the silver lining in all of this sadness.
I do hope so. And Doctor, I just want to thank you from early on, before COVID really became a thing here in the United States. You've been on top of this, informing us, and you know it's not always exciting because the message hasn't changed, but it's also just a testimony to the work that you've been doing here with your physicians for the past 20, 30 years. You're preaching the same gospel. We're saying the same things over and over, that vitamin D is important, low carbohydrates, low sugar, antioxidants, adjusting your diet, detoxifying, chelation therapy. These same things we're saying over and over, and we're just seeing that affirmed in the research that's coming out. And I just want to take a moment to thank you for that and recognize, you know, the hard work that you've been putting into this with your team.
Well, I'm standing on the shoulders of wonderful people before me. Ray Evers, who was the father of getting the very congressional approval for off-label use of medications by a doctor. He was my doctor when I was a teenager. My father was in food research. I worked with Julian Whitaker and Atkins and some of these great men. So it's everyone doing their part. Even here, my whole team here, behind the scenes, you can't see Blake running everything and so forth. I have my nursing staff, I have my front office staff. It really is a process for which I am most grateful for everyone's help and my doctors.
Well, as much as I'm recognizing you and giving you a pat on the back, I'm also just really advocating to the audience to pay attention, go back and listen to what we've been saying since January about COVID. Share this with your friends and family because this information is making a difference. I was just looking at the numbers with our team here a week or so ago, and we've recently seen 3,200 unique people walk through the doors here, right?
Yeah.
And to our knowledge, not a single one of those people has reported a serious consequence, effect of COVID at all.
Right.
So that's amazing that we have such a healthy, resilient patient population. And they're not all perfect, as neither are we. We're not all doing everything we should, but every day doing a little bit of this makes a big difference.
Plus, if you have a loved one, if you're a patient here and you have a family friend you want to bring into the IV suite, we do have an encounter for non-patients. If they want to get a vitamin C or a chelation at a reduced dose, they can do that. So call us up and let us help them.
Okay. I just want to say real quick, you guys have about 3 minutes and a lot of questions came in if you want to try to rapid fire them.
Okay, rapid fire.
Yeah, we'll try to rapid fire a couple questions. If we don't have enough time to answer them all, we will pick up where we left off next week. Or if we don't have enough time to answer them thoroughly. So rapid fire here, what do we have? We did the Wiley protocol.
I think you're on Perla's second question.
Perla, okay. What do a keto diet? Are there any foods that any particular foods that should be avoided while on the keto diet? Obviously carbohydrates, obviously sugar.
Yeah, I would say the whole group called grains, legumes, and fruit, because that's going to throw you off your ketogenic.
And be careful of dairy. Dairy can knock you out of ketosis.
Yeah.
Okay. Rapid fire. Next question. As we are exposed to a lot of toxins every day from food, electronics, etc., what can you recommend that we do to detox our bodies from time to time or every day maybe?
Well, I would take wonderful nutrients like Juice Plus, a modest dose of the vitamin D with K2. I would take the enzymes. I would drink half your weight in water. I would get a good night's sleep. I would exercise modestly a little bit every day. I would never eat late. And nutritively, I would try and get a chelation in at least once a month. Even 5 times a year would be better than nothing.
Absolutely.
The other thing is taking L-glutathione is very smart, and acetylcysteine is very smart. And then infrared far-red sauna, I think, is something to look into purchasing for your home. I am currently in the throes of buying my own home-based sauna, and it's got like a little Faraday cage over it, so I am going to be shielded from the EMFs, and I'm going to be getting this near far red light, and so I'll let you know how it goes when I get it.
Yeah, and certainly I want to mention we throughout the year we do a class of detoxing.
Yeah, we do.
Where we invite a group of patients together and we do what's a 5 or 7 day detox. There's a kit put together by Orthomolecular, and it has everything you need in that kit. You don't have to wait for a class to do that. That is a wonderful elimination diet. It comes with instructions and comes with the nutrients that you can help encourage phase 1, phase 2 detoxification on your own from home.
We should have Trevor.
Yeah, we should invite Trevor here as a guest. Yeah, Trevor, if you're listening, we need to get you on here. Next, we're kind of out of time here, but we'll see if we can rapid fire off 1 or 2 more. Is there a natural food, natural procedures I can do to cleanse my body of heavy metals?
No, I'm not going to say no 100% because even high-dose vitamin C has some chelating ability. cilantro has some chelating ability. Chlorella has some chelating ability. Garlic has some chelating ability. But I've been doing this for decades.
And none of that holds a candle to chelation.
It doesn't hold a candle, so I'm glad people are doing this. But I still see the big tsunami wave build up in them, so that by the time they're in their late 50s, they have so much heavy metals pouring out from their osteoporosis that now they're going to trigger some god-awful disease more than likely.
And we just live in such a modern, toxic world that our body just can't keep up with the burden, and we don't have systems in our body to deal with these heavy metals naturally.
Yeah. And there's a thing called volcanic ash that was a popular product. Then there was like a lipoic acid concentration fermentation product. And so I'm not going to say negative things about them. I just have never seen them in the course of time hold a candle to the wonderful, safe EDTA chelation that covers everything.
Correct. All right, last one here, see if we can get answered is, do you think it's true that you can heal your eyesight if you wear glasses? If so, how? Thank you for your valuable information.
That's a lot to put in there. I think if you don't have microcirculation to your eyes, there's no hope. And without microcirculation, the oxidative stress of your lens is going to make it burn and cook, and it'll get opacified, and you will get a cataract, okay? So can glasses solve this? Well, you can have certain grades shields for the UV lights that are coming in that would oxidize it as well. But I'm going to say no as a general rule. You have to live a healthy life. You have to take care of your microcirculation. Now, I have seen people with serious glaucoma who were slated for surgery for such serious eye pressure disease using chelation rapid fire with fasting, and they avoided it and recovered their blood flow. I've seen people with macular degeneration who have had such severe eye disease from the macular degeneration, they were well on their way to blindness, probably the #1 cause, and they were able to reverse that with chelation therapy.
I was just doing a case study with you that we're preparing a report on one of your patients that you've been following for a decade that came to see you, and her eyes were in end stage, losing her vision.
Yeah, they were going to take her license away.
Right. And today she's doing wonderful.
She's driving, she's doing
almost 90 years old.
Yeah, and she's 15 years since the diagnosis, and usually everyone with dry macular to wet macular degeneration will become legally blind, 90% plus within a 5 to 10 year range. She's 15 years out, doing fantastic.
So Sandra, just in a nutshell, I'll say that is a very complex issue. The eyes, there's a lot going on there. We do work with patients on that, and some of the things Dr. Elthorpe mentioned, improving microcirculation, chelation therapy, that you'd really want to see a doctor about and dial in some of those things. Folks, that we're actually about 5 minutes over time. I want to thank you for joining us. We're here every Wednesday with a doctor. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes we don't. 9:45 a.m. Pacific is when you want to join us to tune in. And do us a favor, if you're watching this, if you're finding value out of it, share it with friends and family. We have tons of information there. If you go back and look at previous videos specifically about COVID and prevention and what you can do to improve your immune system. And we'd really appreciate it if you like the video or if you subscribe to the channel. We're looking at developing this further. We're looking for your feedback. We're hoping to produce more and more of these videos and get more of our team involved. So thank you so much for your time, Dr. Elthorpe. Thank you for your time.
I didn't have time to get to all these articles.
We always have these articles just in the background waiting to go. So we'll see you here next Wednesday at 9:45 a.m. Pacific. Till then, be well and be safe. Thank you.
And all good. Right at the end, that pearl.